Greetings! I'm Trinket and welcome to Sims 3. This is not the Warrior Cats. This is something I'm working on. The current working title is The 7 Clowders, which may change. And this is the 7 cats that began it all. Branch Petal is known to the 7 Clowders, the working title which could change, of a forest in North America. Is their primordial deity, the land and all that grows upon it. She's a dark brown classic tabby molly with long legs, long ears, and green eyes. Furthermore, Branch Petal has 2 extra toes on each front paw and 1 extra toe on each back paw. This is what her genetics is estimated to look like. The 7 Deities were a group of 7 cats. It is said that they arrived in the Great Northern Lands at different times, and that their histories before that point are unknown. Branch Petal was born in the Great Northern Lands. Although they, as a cat, did not know the name of the land they were born in was the furthest. All her life, she only knew the forest. Branch Petal's descendants created the root Clowder, which is known to have the best gatherers and queens. Skycloud is known to the 7 Clowders as the primordial spirit of the sky and weather. He is a large, fluffy blue and white tom with eyes as blue as the sky. This is what his genetics are estimated to look like. Skycloud arrived in the Great Northern Lands from a flying dragon, what humans call an airplane, and was spooked by a loud boom, which were fireworks, and ran from the place the flying dragon had landed and found himself in the forest. It was in this forest that he met Branch Petal for the first time. The Skyclouder was created by a descendant of Skycloud, and the Skyclouder is known to have the best jumpers and climbers. In regards to mates and kindles, and the kindle is what we're calling litters of kits here, is that when a tom wishes to find a mate, he is forbidden from taking a mate in the Clowder into which he was born, or the birth Clowder of either of his parents. When a molly wishes to find a mate, she is also forbidden from taking a mate in the Clowder into which she was born, or the Clowder of either of her parents. It is forbidden to take any cat that is not a part of the 7 Clowders as a mate. It is also forbidden to have a kindle with a cat that is not part of the 7 Clowders. Taking a forbidden mate can get a cat exiled or put to death, depending on the vote of their Clowder and whether or not their chief and/or shaman show mercy. Having a forbidden kindle can result in not only the exile or death of the kindle's sire and/or dam, but also the exile and death of the entire kindle. This again will depend on how the Clowder votes and whether or not their chief and/or shaman show mercy. Once a cat has become a shaman, they may no longer share a nest with their mate, nor may they have any kindles. Thus why most shamans are typically older and have already had both mate and kindle. They are judged more harshly by their Clowder and chief for having a forbidden mate and/or forbidden kindle. Now you may have heard that it's forbidden to take a mate from outside the Clowders. However, cats can become members of one of the 7 Clowders, but it is very difficult, and I have not worked on those rules as yet. Waterwave is known to the 7 Clowders as the primordial spirit of the waterways. They are a tall and lithe, semi-long furred blue tabby tom with blue eyes as blue as the ocean, or lake. This is what their genetics are estimated to look like. Waterwave was Skycloud's brother and went in search of him once he was able to escape the nest they were in. Once he found Skycloud and learned his brother did not wish to leave, he decided to stay too. Descendants of cats that considered Waterwave a parental figure created the Water Clowder, and the Water Clowder is known to have the best swimmers and the best fishers. Now, while the 7 Clowders are not warriors, they do have a similar setup, I suppose. And these are Clowder ranks. The chief, the head of the Clowder, chosen by the vote of the mollies within the Clowder. This could change throughout time, maybe, or depending on the certain Clowder. Next up is shaman, the chief's second in command, but are typically considered more. Often also called the war chief in times of war, chosen by the chief of the Clowder, if there is not already one. Followed by medicine cats, which we're familiar with due to of course, warrior cats. But there's still medicine is medicine. I didn't want to call them doctor. Cats with extensive knowledge about the herbs and how to heal. There is typically more than one. Then we do have warriors. While warriors can hunt and fish and gather, they spend most of their time training and patrolling in case of battle. Now, hunters follows warriors, while they can be warriors, they specialize in hunting. Then are fishers. While they can be warriors, they specialize in fishing. And the gatherers are typically not warriors, but may have some training. They, however, gather items to make soft nests and help the medicine cats by planting and harvesting herbs. Next, we have the queens, which are mollies with kits. The youngest queens are 20 moons. They cannot be any younger than that. Apprentices are young cats that are being trained to be warriors, hunters, fishers, gatherers, and medicine cats. Cats usually begin their apprenticeships at the age of 9 moons and are fully trained warriors by 17 moons. Next up are elders, cats that have retired. Next up are mews. They are older than a kit and younger than an apprentice. Young cats between 5 moons and 8 moons. Because they are typically weaned by 5 moons, they get to help around camp and may help the gatherers, medicine cats, queens, and watch the apprentices in the training area. Now, kits are the youngest members of the Clowder. They are between the ages of 0 moons and 4 moons. They may not leave the camp and have no other responsibility than to play and grow. Warm Sun is known to the 7 Clowders as the spirit of the sun. She is a yellow molly with orange eyes and a long tail. This is what her genetics are estimated to look like. I may have forgotten she was a tabby with a broken macro pattern, which will be fixed later on. She has an amber russet and sunshine pelt, which I found difficult to emulate. There will be a link in the description to Messy Beast's website where you can see examples of these pelt colors and patterns. Warm Sun was a cat who lived on a ship, but when the captain passed away far from home, one of the captain's crew found her and set her on the land, leaving her behind on a beach. The descendants of Warm Sun founded the Sun Clowder, and the Sun Clowder is known to have the best day hunters and lore keepers. They tend to speak of lore before or right after dusk. Apprentice assessments are judged by all 7 of the Clowder's chiefs and shamans after they have been evaluated by their mentors. This is in part because each of the Clowders have different strengths, and if a cat shows a strength in an area that is known to be the strength of one of the other Clowders, then they may be sent to a different Clowder where their gifts from the most ancient will be best put to use. Full Moon is known to the 7 Clowders as the spirit of the moon and of the hunt. He is a small cream and white tom with a long snout and yellow eyes. This is what his genetics are estimated to look like. When I was creating him, I forgot to include his short bobtail. Full Moon preferred the dark of night to hunt. He was chased away from his cozy barn home by the 3 new dogs that made their home there after his canine friend lost a battle with a coyote. He traveled for several days until he came to a beach where he saw a lone, dejected Molly, whom he tried to help, but it was not an easy thing to do. Once the Molly was no longer depressed, they set out to find another place, as there were bad memories for Warm Sun on that beach. Finally, they reached a forest where they met Branch, Petal, Sky Cloud, and Water Wave. The Moon Clowder was founded by those descended of Full Moon, and the Moon Clowder is known to have the best night hunters and singers. They tend to sing before or right after dawn. I have been using Sparrow's Garden to determine what the cats might look like. The only thing I didn't use was the Bengal modifier because they don't have any Bengal in them. But anything else is a possibility that they might have somewhere in their genetic background with their dominant genes and their recessive genes. If you've ever played a game like Niche, you know what I'm talking about. And that will determine what the cat looks like. Some of the combinations I've never seen in person, or even I can't even find a picture of it, but I'm assuming it's a possibility. And I'm trying to be as realistic as possible, but there might be a little fantasy elements with the eye colors possibly, and say, other signs, but I want to be able to do the genetics, at least from the standpoint of the phenotypes slash genotypes, so that the cats actually have genes from their parents that show up in them and not some random thing, because that's not how they work. Even though I love the Warrior Cats books, but they don't know anything about genetics, at least from as far as I could see and read. And everybody's like, oh, this cat can't possibly be that cat's relation, even though it's a fantasy book about cats in the wild, which you should totally go read if you haven't. And let me know who your favorite warrior cat is. Mine is probably Tall Star and possibly Yellow Fang. Aside from Firestar, of course. I adore that cat, except for a couple of instances with, like, Spotted Leaf. Shining Spirit is known to the Seven Clouders as the Spirit of Life. She's a large tortoiseshell amber-spotted tabby molly with copper eyes. Shining Spirit also has an extra toe on each front paw. This is what her genetics are estimated to look like. Shining Spirit was a molly who lived near train tracks and was used to loud sounds. One day she was chased by kids throwing rocks, and she jumped into a train car. The train soon started moving. When she got out, finally she was chased again, this time by a grown adult human with a broom. She darted into a forest where she was found by Warm Sun. As I was recording the voiceover for this, Ruthie, Toothy, a 13-year-old senior cat used to belong to my grandpa until last August of the 26th, has been like, give me my food, even though it's not quite time, but in a few minutes. Finally, Falling Shadows is known to the Seven Clouders as the Spirit of Death. He is a black and white Tom with orange eyes and a long tail. This is what his genetics are estimated to look like. Falling Shadows was a cat that was going to be shot by his owner, an owner who had already killed their own mate and child. Falling Shadows yowled so loud that the neighbors came to look and got a hold of the police. Smelling the scent of death on his people, he ran away into the forest where he saw Shining Spirit and Waterwave, whom introduced him to Branch Petal, Skycloud, Warm Sun, and Full Moon. The Death Clouder was formed by descendants of Falling Shadows, and the Death Clouder is known to have the best shamans and the stealthiest of warriors. This Seven Clouders is still a work in progress. I thought about calling it the Seven Kingdoms, but I didn't know if cats would want to go with kingdoms or not, so I called it the Seven Clouders, which is another term for a group of cats, like colony, and stuff like that. And, so, I think I will be doing a Sims 3 run-through of this, but I'm determining whether to start with brand new cats that are somehow descended of these 7 cats, or starting with these 7 cats. Maybe one at one point, one at the other, and I believe I will be losing the Dragon Valley without roads, which I believe, I can't remember where My Sims Reality, I think. If not, I will at least have links down in the description below for anything that I'm using. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. I would really much appreciate that. Thank you. Now I think it's time to go feed Ruthie. Ruthie! Kitty! Come on, Ruthie! Meow! Can you hear her? Well, as always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye! Don't forget to like and subscribe if you feel so inclined.